raise your hand if you are able to finish the homework on free code camp, the challenges on free code camp. Does this mean that no one was able to finish? Okay, who attempted the free code camp and at least managed to work on some of the challenges? All right, we have 3 people who raised their hands. Yeah, so okay, Agnes, Agnes, can you tell us how you found the challenges before we move on and go to today's agenda? Agnes, you can unmute.
Thank you. For me, where I am at the time, I didn't face any challenge. I hope I will progress and finish it without any challenge.
All right. Alice, you have your hand up. Can you tell us, what you were able to learn during, as you worked on the challenges?
Sorry, I didn't see where, but I have seen that in CSS.
Come again? What did you say?
I have said, I have seen that today we are going to study CSS.
Mm-hmm. And did you work on the challenges that, the homework that we had on Tuesday?
Homework?
That we had on Tuesday. Did you get a chance to work on the challenges?
I didn't see that homework.
Okay. Are you on Discord?
On this phone?
Discord.
Yeah.
Did you talk to your TTL? Do you have a TTL? Do you know his name?
TTL? No, I have seen it on timetable.
On timetable?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Maybe as we go along, Sam or Bernard can look for your TTL and make sure that we tell you your TTL before the call ends. Anyone who wants to share what they learned on free code camp in the last 2 days? Sam.
Good evening.
Good evening.
On free code camp, I saw like we were supposed to do the challenge on HTML and CSS.
Mm-hmm.
I've managed to go through the HTML session and I've covered it. And so far, I have no broker. Thank you.
Okay. Were you able to learn anything new?
Yeah, I did a lot.
All right. Awesome. Anyone else before we move on? Vivian. All right. I think Vivian might be having issues. Let's move on to today's session. And I think most of you guys were on to Tuesday session about HTML, and today we're going to continue with that. And we're basically going to start, where we left off. So on Tuesday, we talked about text elements. We talked about images and different ways that you can represent text, can show text in HTML. I created this HTML file on Tuesday. If you didn't attend the session, then this is where we learned. But today we're going to start afresh. Don't worry about that. We're going to be deleting everything here and we're going to start afresh. On Free Code Camp, we talked about that you were going to learn, some of the things on Free Code Camp. Those things are things like forms, things like buttons, but we can just go through that just a little bit and see if we can, maybe for those who are not able to go through that, maybe have a chance to maybe see how that works. So let me just delete this file since it's confusing people. We're going to start afresh. This is just a folder. I hope everyone can, just open a folder and create an HTML file, just like we saw last time. So today we're going to create a file called index.html. And, if you have VS Code, you can just write exclamation mark and then hit enter and you get the basic, boilerplate written down for you. And you can just give this any title you want. So we're still working on our first website. So first website. And in the body, you're going to print an H1. Saying hello world, like so. So to run this, last time we were taking this file and we were opening a Chrome tab. Can you guys see my desktop? I want to make sure that I'm sharing the right screen.
Yeah, the desktop looking as a calendar.
All right,
and,
all right, awesome. All right. So let me open. So the way we were doing it last time, we were taking this file and we were putting it, inside of. This is our website right here. This is, we were taking this and opening it in Chrome, like so. Let me bring it on this side. And we were opening it like that, and it was working, right? But today, we're going to take kind of like a different approach. We're going to go here. If you have VS Code, you should have VS Code by now. And we're going to install something called Live Server. It's an extension that we're going to install. It's called Live Server. And because I've installed it, I only see any buttons to install or disable. But then you're going to click install. You're going to get something like this, and then you're going to hit the install button. But on this one called Live Server, right? So you're going to do it. And once you are done installing it, just take a minute. Let me show you. All right, because it's running. Let me stop it. So it's only going to take a second. Oh, I can't uninstall it right now. All right, so it doesn't matter though. You're going to get an install button and you're going to click it. And once you click it, and we're going to come back here in our HTML, and instead of opening it, through the file explorer here in the folder, we're going to use VS Code. We're going to right click on this and then click open in Live Server. What this is going to help us do is we're going to get, you remember last time we had to reload, we had to refresh so that we get the changes that we're making. But if we come here, for example, today, and you write, input, like that, with a type text, and then a placeholder of maybe placeholder of your name, right? We're going to get that without refreshing, without doing anything, okay? So this is what we're going to be getting, all right? Yeah, that's it. That's how we're going to be running our file today. Okay, so moving on, let's see. Yeah, so this is what we're going to be working with. Alice, do you have a question? You have your hand raised.
Because on Tuesday, because I didn't attend this, it is challenging me.
Okay, it's okay. Anything that is challenging, you can type it in the chat. A person called Bernard is going to help you, or someone. Do you have at least VS Code installed?
What?
Do you have VS Code installed?
Yes, C code.
If you, yes, VS Code. We installed it last time on the first day, actually.
On the first day.
Yeah. Do you have it installed? If you don't, then you can use this link to download it as you go along with the session.
Don't have it.
Okay, I pasted the link in the chat. Please go ahead and install it. Once you're done, you'll be able to follow along.
Okay.
All right. For everyone else,
question. Someone wants to know how they can find live server.
Oh,
if you
okay.
could repeat the process.
All right, no problem. So let me start over. So basically, what we have here is just a file we created, a new file we created, an index.html. What we added here was to type this exclamation mark, and we just want to change the title, website or first website, and we just wrote an H1 that says hello world. Right, so this is what we did. So to find live server, you come here on extensions on the right side here. Sorry, on the left side, you come here, it's where it says on this icon that says extensions. When you click it, you search for live server, like so. So when you search live server, you can even leave a space in here. It's going to still come as this one. The first option that you see, it has like 15 million downloads. You will be able to see it. This is the one you're going to install. You click on the install button like this. It's basically here where it says uninstall because I have it installed, but you can also install it. So once you click it, you'll be able to do something like this. Right click and choose open with live server, or you can open your file like this, and then come here on at the bottom where it says go live. All of those things will be able to open a server for you. So once we click go live, it's going to open our HTML file here with the word hello world. That's all I did. All right. So because we have a lot to cover today, I'm going to go through today's agenda very quickly, and we can maybe reserve questions for later, or if it's urgent, then you can drop it in the chat. All right. So first of all, we saw HTML, we saw CSS, but you know, we also talked about, you know, their roles in building websites. Okay, so I would say HTML is like the skeleton. If you take maybe like human's anatomy, you know, the bones, you know, of a website. If I would match it with, you know, with a human being, the bones are HTML, and then, you know, the skin and, you know, and muscles, you know, your CSS, you know, things that, you know, give you a shape, CSS. Okay, so basically HTML is for the structure of a website, or, you know, the skeleton of a website, and then CSS is, you know, for presentation. Let's say skin, if maybe I'm dark skin, that is, you know, CSS that's doing it. If I was written with CSS. Okay, so that's basically the idea, right? So last time we saw, you know, headings like this heading 1. We saw, you know, different headings like heading 2, heading 2. You know, you can see that, you know, it's a heading 2, and it gets smaller and smaller, and it goes up until heading 6. We saw paragraphs where we can write our text, something like this. You know, we have our text here. I'm just writing this so that we can start working with CSS using this text that we have here. We saw lists. Let's say if I have an H3 here, I can say a list and write our list. So we have an ordered list and we have ordered lists. So we have LIs, you can write LI times 5. This in VS Code, this is going to work. This is going to give you something. So you can say item 1, and so we have like different items in our list. So if we do this, then we're going to have our list here. We can even add, if you hold Alt, we can actually add, you know, some content here. So we can select multiple locations and add, you know, add numbers, right? Like that. So if we say maybe, if it's, you know, if it happens that you have, you want to write, you know, some text in different locations, the same text, then you can do that. If you hold Alt down, it's going to work. Something like this. And then we also have ordered lists with, we also get an LI inside. LI is list item. We can say 6 and then item 2. Right, so we can copy the same items actually and paste them here. And these items are going to come as numbered because this is another list, right? So this is basically, let's say, let's put an H3 here again, or the, sorry, let's say numbered list, random list. Right, so this is what we're going to get. And we also saw links. Links, these are called anchor tags. And anchor tags have an href. Href is, you know, the location where we'll go, you know, where the link is going to go. So we can say google.com and say Google website. Something like this is going to work. Sorry, I forgot to write HTTPS. Like, so I think this is Google's link, right? So to do this again, it's going to go to Google like this. All right, so we saw links. Yeah, so we saw links, and then you know, we saw so much more on Tuesday, and we went deep, you know, into how everything works, right? So today we're going to see how, you know, how do we bring in styles, you know, in our HTML files, right? So there are three ways that we can style our elements. Let's say, for example, let's start with this H1, our big title here that says Hello World. How do we bring styles in here? So the first thing that we can do is to write a style tag. So here we can write style, and inside of here we can select this H1 and give it some style. Right? So we can say color is red. Then we end it with a semicolon like that, just like we saw. So this is one way that we can bring in styles. The next way that, which is the way that, we kind of saw a little bit last time, is to have an external style sheet or an external CSS file, which you can have here. Let's create that file. We create a new file, we call it style style.css, just for simplicity. And in style.css, we have a place where we can write some styles, and this is where we can actually now come here and say our H2 now has a color of dark blue. Okay, let's say dark sky blue, and then we end it with a semicolon. We'll see, while we are putting semicolons there, then we'll see that there's nothing that's happening here. This is because we haven't imported this file. So this index.html doesn't know that this style.css exists. So the way to do it, like we did last time, we add a link tag. And this link tag, we need this keyword that says style sheet, because you can also have different attributes here. I mean, different values for this attribute, where you can say like something like icon, or so many different things. So here, what we need is style sheet, and this href, as we saw on links, is the place on links and images is the same thing. So no, it's on links. So we're telling this file that you need to go look for this particular style sheet where we say style.css, and it will autocomplete for you if you write the correct name like that. All right. So if we go back here, we'll see that our H2 now is deep sky blue, whatever that color is. All right. So this is another way to do it. And then the third way to do it is to write what we call inline styles. So we write style here. It's just like this one here above. So we give this style attribute, and then we can write our style here. So you can say color is aqua, sorry. Yeah, so the color is aqua. Let me make it maybe green. Lime green. So lime green, right? So this is how you can write styles inside of the HTML file. So it's not in here in CSS, it's in our HTML. Okay. So these are the three ways. You can see that our H3 is actually green, right? So these are the three ways that we can import CSS in our HTML. Any questions? All right, so yes, Bernard, thank you for answering that. So the words that I have here in paragraph, if you have VS Code, you can actually get them yourself. You can write your paragraph, then you write lorem. If you type lorem, you can just hit enter and it will work. I don't know if you can write lorem 3. Yeah, if you want a lot, so many words, you can do multiplication here, times 3. It'll give you 3 paragraphs. Sorry. 3 like this, it give you 3 paragraphs of lorem. If you can imagine if you write lorem times 20, it's going to be a lot, right? But this is just dummy text to use, as you're testing things out, right? Yeah, so this is it. I hope you guys understand how we can do that. So wow, time is running fast. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to see is after seeing this, we're going to talk about something called the cascade, right? So the reason CSS is called CSS is it's basically cascading style sheet. That's what it stands for. Is because all the styles here are read from top to bottom, right? And it creates kind of like a cascade, or a cascade is like stairs, right? If you're going down the stairs, you start with the top, then you go down, step by step by step, right? So if we have, let me maybe delete, I'm going to remove these inline styles, and I'm going to remove these styles because in the 3, the way you should be using all the time is this one, where you import styles from a separate style sheet like this. Okay, so in the way we read styles, browsers read the style sheets. It starts at the top and it goes down. So if you have H2 where it says deep sky blue, this is the only style that we have. And then we write H2 again. And let's copy this down. I write H2 again, and then we give it red. What's going to happen is that this is going to turn red because the way let me show you. So basically, when this HTML file is run, the browser reads all of these at the top. When it gets here, it says, okay, we need to go on this file, and then it stops everything. It stops reading this file, and then it goes to find this style sheet. It goes there. It reads from the top to bottom. So it says, okay, H2, get this deep sky blue color, and then when it gets here, it says H2, get this red color. And then if you keep going on and on, you'll see that if you make it purple, it's going to just turn purple right here, right? So the styles you write here at the bottom are going to be overriding the ones at the top. So make sure that you don't repeat yourself, or you don't override yourself unknowingly. So don't don't select this H2 multiple times. If you want to add more, they're called rule sets. Like if you want to add more CSS, basically you write your rules here at the bottom and you keep going. You don't, declare it. If you want to maybe give it another, maybe a font size, you're going to change the size of this H2, then you write it at the bottom. Not, you don't create another selector like that. Okay, so maybe you guys will get to know more about these things, where you even learn about specificity, because these are a thing, and we are going to be talking about that just a little bit in terms of like the importance of different styles. So with that, let's move on, and we're going to start with learning. We are looking at this H2 and color and this, like what is going on here, right? So the syntax of CSS, the syntax is, here, this is actually the syntax. So we have something called a selector, right? So number one, we have a selector, and then this is the selector. A selector can be an element, right? So we have element selectors, and we're going to see more selectors, in this case. So we have a selector here. We have a property. this is a CSS property. Color is a property, and then there's every property has a value. So at least one value. So this color has a value of colors, right? So you can say black, or you can say anything like blue, right? So you can say blue or blue violet, like anything that you put here is meant to be a value of color. So we have a selector, we have a property, and then we have a value. Very, very important. This is the syntax for CSS. And then we have these curly braces. These curly braces show the beginning and the end of your CSS, of your styles, because this is just a selector. This is what's doing the job, right? This is just to point, where these styles are going to be applied. And then at the end of every, rule set, a rule set is, a combination of this property and the value. So this rule set here is going to be ending in a semicolon, right? If you write this, then this is okay. This is going to auto complete in VS Code. But usually, if you forget this, things are not going to run smoothly, right? Or if you add some words that are not the correct values for this property, like you say something, right? And you end it. It looks like CSS, but it's not CSS because this is going to break. There's not going to be any color applied here because something is not a color, right? So for colors, we have a few values that are accepted, right? So let's make it red. Let's make it maroon. It was killing my eyes, right? So maroon will be there. Okay, so this is the syntax basically. Let's see. All right. No, you don't have to memorize, and you can't memorize all the styles in CSS, but you will know different categories of styles that you need, which is what we're going to be looking at today. So you think about it in terms of, okay, this is my text. How do I style the text? What are different things that I can do to a text? I can change the color. I can change the size. I can change the font family. I can change different things, right? I can change the spacing around it, right? So this is how you think about styles. You don't memorize everything, right? So maybe I'll also get to the questions later, but Bernard is doing Bernard and Faith, right? And others in the chat are doing a great job. All right, so moving on, I'm going to go through these things real quick since we don't have much time and we have a lot to cover. But this is the syntax. Now we're going to look at the selectors, right? We're going to start with the selectors. So first of all, the first selectors that we're going to be looking at is element selectors. So the element selectors are just your elements. Like if you have a p tag, if you write p in CSS, you can write p and then you put on your curly braces, and this will be your selector. And you can write, your rule sets, your styles go here. So here you just selected all the p tags. So if we say maybe color, let's say light sky blue, for example. Right, so if you say light sky blue, then all the p tags are going to be light sky blue, right? Or if you say maroon, they're going to be maroon, right? So all the p tags are going to be maroon. Even if we create more p tags, they're all going to be maroon. So p tags, Lauren, times 4. And for like that, then every text here is going to be this color, right? So that is how it is. So it doesn't end on p tags. It also goes to headings, h1s. If you select all h1s, let's say all h1s are going to get a background color, maybe of black. All right, so of black, and maybe a color. Okay, let me show you how that looks. So this is our h1, and then we're going to get a color of white, right? So this is our h1, right? All our h1s are going to be like this, and all of them are going to be selected. So if we get another h1 down the line, it's also going to have the same styles. So h1, hello, also an h1, right? So we're going to get that right here. Okay, so this is not going to win the best world record in styling, but then you see that you can do things to your HTML. That's what's very important. All right, so okay. All right, so moving on, these are, so you can select basically any HTML element by just writing it. So we have our allies, for example, you can select them and say something like padding, maybe say 5 pixels. I don't know why you would do that, but then this is it. So you can see that the spacing between them has increased, right? If we exaggerate and say something like 15, you're going to see that there's going to be a space between all these elements. Now it makes sense though, right? So even the same for UL. So UL, for example, you can say, for ULs, let's say, for example, we have a border around our list, right? A border, we can have 3 pixels, solid, tomato, right? So you can see this red, line around, right? So this is, we are selecting it using a UL, right? So anything you have in HTML, you can select in here. I mean, in CSS. So the same as anchor tags. Our anchor tags here, you can select them by just writing A and having something like a, for example, we have our anchor tag here. It goes to the Google website, but maybe we want it to be bigger. So we can say font size, maybe 30 pixels, and maybe give it a padding of maybe 30, okay, let's say 20 pixels, 50 pixels. We're going to see why we're doing that. And we can maybe even give it a background so that it looks like a button, a background color, a background color of, let's say, teal. And if you do that, you're going to see that it's going to become teal. And you maybe add some text here so that we can see. All right, so we can already see that this is going to be our button, I mean our link, but for it to look like a button, we can do, we can add a few things. So I can say color is going to be white, and you can say text decoration of none. So we have our button here, right? So we have this beautiful button with only a few CSS rules, right? So, but the key here is that we selected an anchor tag, right? So that aside, we are going to move on, right? So any element you write in HTML, you can select in CSS, simply put. So that's one one thing, right? But then we have elements like, you know, like a form. Like in a form, basically we have, let's maybe ditch the action. Don't want to get into that. So we have like an input with a type of text, and let's maybe get rid of all this and say placeholder of your name, right? Or let's say enter your name, right? So something like this. We have our input here. What if we wanted to select? What if we had another input of type input of type password, for example, right? If you had one of type password, you know, what would we do? So in type password, you're going to see that, you know, it's going to be, you know, like it's going to look like a password, but then we want to select, you know, this particular one with type of text. So now we get to something called, here we had element selectors. Let's say here, attribute selectors. So we can select based on attributes as well. So we can say input. If you say input, then we, you know, then we give it some styles. For example, padding of 20 pixels. Then this is going to affect all the inputs, right? But then if you want this, you know, if you want this color maybe to be, you know, green, right? How are we going to do it when we want this to be still black, right? I don't know why we would do that, but then you're going to see that you can select based on the type or based on what we call an attribute. Everything that you put inside of an element is called an attribute. So this type is an attribute, placeholder is an attribute, name is an attribute, an ID is an attribute. There are other attributes that are going to be useful called classes. You can say password, for example. This class is also an attribute. This ID is an attribute. Okay, so for you to be able to select an input of type text, this is what we do. So we come here, we write input, and then we write square brackets like this. They are after P on the side, on the right side. Then we write type, and then we put equals text, right? And then this padding is only going to be, you know, applied to inputs of type text. Let's see if that's correct. Yes, so this is correct. Right, so this is now taking place, taking effect like that, and we can even increase, let's say, the font size for that input. Maybe it's going to be 24 pixels as well, so we can have, you know, this big input, right? We can even change the color. We can do whatever we want with that. So I say color, we can make it maybe green, right? So if you write, it's going to be green. Right. So basically, this is how we do it. But then you can also select, a hint here is that you take this whole thing, this whole, you know, attribute, and you paste it in CSS. You write your input, you put the braces, I mean, the square brackets, the brackets like that, and then you paste the attribute you want to select. That's it. It's basically a cheat. Right, so, but you can also say, okay, if it has this attribute, let's say, for example, an input or input with a type of checkbox, right? Checkbox like this is going to come here, right? So you can check this. This is a normal checkbox, okay? But if you want, you know, if you want to select, if you want to change the color of a checkbox, you know, based on, you know, if it's disabled, for example, right? If it's disabled, you can change maybe if it's disabled, let's say input disabled. No, this is not, sorry, this is not, this will be pseudo class. Let's get to that when we get to pseudo classes and pseudo selectors later. So basically you can say something like checked, for example. You know, those are other things that we're going to see. If maybe like if this is checked or disabled, then we can change the styles as well. And let's see here. Right, so for disabled here, it's not going to work for you by default using HTML, but you can also select this, you know, right here when it's disabled or checked or whatever, and change the styles around it. Right. So I hope I'm not going too far into this. And let's see. And glance in the chat. Okay, is my voice breaking? Am I speaking? Is my voice low? What's happening?
Now it's okay, I guess.
All right. Please let me know if something is not going well, or if I'm going too fast, so I slow down. All right. Cool. So we've seen attribute selectors. Basically, what I was going to say is, you know, we can actually select, you know, without a value. So anything that has a type is going to get this type. So it's going to work on all of them, right? So that is it for attribute selectors. You can select any attribute that you want. Right, even some of the text can have attributes. Let's say this, even a paragraph tag can have an attribute. There's an attribute called title that you can have here. So an old story, right? So if you want to select this attribute, you can also do that. So all the you can, for example, select all the p tags with a title, and maybe style them differently. So p with title, then you can give them maybe a color of gray. Right, so it's grayed out compared to other p tags that are red. Right, so there are so many things that I can do with attributes, and you know, if you can select them. All right, so moving on, we're going to end the selectors and move to, let me see, move to one other thing that is called, actually, let's finish selectors. Let's end it with something like pseudo selectors. Pseudo selectors are very important for you to maybe be able to style links, right? So links have things called pseudo selectors, and actually all the elements have pseudo selectors based on, you know, what they are. So but the most the easiest way to maybe go about this is to think about a link, for example, right? So if you take a link, let's get a link going at the top. We have a net tag here, and this is a link. Right, so the link, right? So this link is going to be, where is our link? The H2. All right, so I'm a dead link, right? So this link is actually getting the styles from here. Let's let's delete that, right? So I am added link like that, right? So there are so many different, let me get rid of all this. Get rid of all this. So we have our, all right. So you can even see the difference. Like when you visit a link, it's going to have, sorry. Yeah, so when you visit a link, it's going to be kind of purple. If it's still fresh, it's going to be like this. Usually it happens, right? So it has different states, right? Different states that it can be in. So we're going to see those states. So there's a link, which is, for example, this one. We're going to see different states of a link with things called pseudo selectors. And you can actually see it when you go in, when you right click and go in inspect mode, you're going to open dev tools in Chrome or Firefox. So right click, go on inspect, and you're going to be able to see this thing I'm going to talk about. So if I come here and select this link, so I just clicked here to select an element, and then I clicked on the link, right? So if I click here, I'm going to see, if you click on this, sorry, the plus icon, sorry. Right, so if I click on hover, I'm going to see all the, kind of like all the states that a link can be in. So you have active, focus within, target, hover, visited, focus, visible. All these things can be applied to a link, right? So it means some of these things are going to be same, but we're going to only maybe look at 3 of them, right? So first of all, we have a link with, so you to select a hover state, a pseudo state or a pseudo class, you add it like that. So you add a colon and then you write what you want to write. So something called, one called link. This one is when a link is not visited. So visited link, right? So this, you can say font, no. Okay, let's just deal with colors. So color maybe teal, right? So we have teal for links that are not visited. So you can see it's teal, okay? And then the next one that we're going to see is hover. So if you write hover, is when like the cursor is on top of the link. Then we can also change the color to another color, let's say yellow, right? So we can change it to yellow. And if you do it, if you bring our cursor above it, then it's going to be yellow, right? Not very useful, but I mean, sorry, not a good design choice in color, but then you're going to see that it's going to change, right? Even this one, right? So another one is called active. So active is when you are actually clicking on the link, right? So for active, the color is going to be red, right? So this is just randomly, I'm picking this randomly. And then once you're done clicking it, when you visited the link, it's going to say visited. Visited is going to become, we're going to give it another color. So because we're going to click it, then we don't want to just click it and not have a visited color. So for visited, the color is going to change to black, right? So once we hover over this, okay, this is visited already. So this link is, is a link and visited. Once we hover over it, it's going to be yellow. Once we click it, it should be red, right? So I'm clicking it. Now I'm going to release and it's going to turn black. right? So like that. So this is going to still work. So once, all right, let me see. Right, once we have another link, it's going to keep being like that. But then usually people don't play with, you know, these things a lot. You just have maybe one style for links because you don't want to have like different colors around, but it's very important to know that you can actually select you know, these elements using, you know, the state they are in, right? So that's yeah, that's it. And we're moving on to one more type of selectors, and then we're going to start something else called the box model, right? So basically after this, the next thing that I'm going to talk about is something called combinators. So combinator selectors or combinators, whatever you want to call them. But actually, let me talk about comments. So to write a comment, just hit Command or Control and then /, right? Or write / asterisk and then asterisk /, and you'll be able to add a single line comment like that in CSS, or you can even make it a multi-line comment. So if you write something like this, you can say, I am a multi-line comment. You can't touch me, right? So you can have a comment like this or a single line comment like that. So I'm using comments to just annotate things that we're seeing in here, so that we stay on the line, right? So things called selectors called combinators, right? So for example, you might want to select if you have, for example, a design that you want to make, you might want to select all paragraph text that are after, you know, maybe that are inside a particular div. Let's say, for example, we have p tags all around, but we have a special p tag that is going to be maybe inside of a section, right? We have a section. I'm hoping that you learned about sections on free code camp. So we have a section, and we have a p tag that says p tag inside a section, right? So we have this p tag which is inside a section. How do we select this particular p tag so that, you know, maybe it has a different color with this one, or we have different styles? Maybe we increase the importance of it by increasing the size, right? So the way we do that is by use of combinator selectors. We can combine section. So we're going to say section because you can actually select it. This is an element selector. Then we can say p tags. So this means all the p tags, we are selecting the last one actually. Anywhere you see a combination of different selectors, make sure that, you know, this is the one being selected. So this is the last one. So this p tag, it means we are selecting all the p tags inside of a section, right? If there's none, then nothing is going to work. So let's change maybe the font size. So font size to 50 pixels. It's going to be huge, right? So I'm a p tag inside a section. Other p tags are just, you know, small like that, right? So you can even maybe say for the 2 pixels. So the maybe gray. So we are going to add maybe this, you know, cutout around it, right? So this is how you select multiple elements. So there are so many other combinators, you know, where you select, you know, things. Maybe if there's you know, there are crazy combinators, but the most important the two most important combinators is this one, and another one is if you want to select maybe different elements. Maybe you want to select all headings. So you write H1, you separate it with a comma. You write H2, H3, H4, H5, and H6. Maybe all headings maybe are going to have a particular font family. Font family for headings. So font family for headings, for example, is going to be, let's say, impact. I don't know why I'm choosing that, but yeah. So we have impact for all the headings. You can see that headings have kind of like a different font family, right? We can even say colors for all the headings are going to be maybe aqua, right? So all headings are going to have this aqua color, right? So, all right. So that is how we select. That is how we use combinators. So these are the two most important ones. Others, you can learn more about others, at your convenience. But these are the most important ones. All right. So we are finishing with selectors and things you can do with selectors and all these things. But then again, there's the sky is the limit. There's a lot to learn. There's a lot that you can do with selectors and pseudo elements. And we didn't actually talk about pseudo elements. For example, something called let's say if you have something called this is a pseudo element called selection. This is maybe one that we can visualize. So if you select, this is what's going to count by default, right? The color of the highlight. If you select, this is going to be the color, right? But if you have selection and you have background color, maybe of purple, right? If you select again, sorry, it's not selection, it's selection, right? So if we come here and select again, things are going to be purple, the selected items. And we can just maybe create a highlighter with yellow, and then the text can be white. So color of the selected text is going to be white. So this is called a pseudo element, right? So if I select, everything is going to change like that, right? So maybe white is not, so gray maybe is the right one to use here in this case. So we can just say something like this. You can do crazy things with pseudo selectors and selectors and pseudo elements, right? So you will be learning more and more as you go on in your journey, right? So we're going to be moving away from selectors and all these things. But if there's any question that is not answered in the chat, I'll take a minute to answer it, and then we'll move to the meat of today's session, which is layouts and box model and layouts basically. And we'll build something. We have a card component that I showed you that we're going to be building. So I'm going to assume that all right. So I'm hoping that so we have a lot to cover. We don't have enough time. It's only going to be 2 hours, and I want you guys to have at least something that you can use to build your project that you're working on. Right, so we can't cover all HTML and all CSS on these sessions, but if you have particular questions, you can ask on Discord. You can ask anyone, on Discord, your TTL, your manager, people on Discord. They'll be able to help. All right, Bernard, do you have a question that is not answered before we move from selectors and all that? Anything related to that?
No, not related to that. Jules is asking the difference between checkbox and radio. buttons. I think you can quickly share the differences.
Yeah, sure. So basically, it's just the type. So all of them are inputs. So input of type text is just an input where you type some text. Okay. So input of type radio is is going to have to be a radio, where if you have like a form, if you have a form like this, and you have maybe let me maybe show you quickly. So you have a form and you have a label, or maybe your name, and then your, let's say your name is input of type text, and then we have your gender, for example. It's all right. So we have gender, right? So we have gender, and then we can have two radio buttons. So we can even create form groups here, and group these radio buttons. So we have input of type radio, and we can group it with let's say let me say, okay, let me just do something I would not do. So choose your gender, right? So this basically I would say it's actually a label. So choose your gender. Choose your gender. Then we have a radio button. Maybe we have 3 radio buttons. No, 2. Right. So one is for male, another one is for female, right? So we can have actually, let me show you. So you'll see that we have this and this, right? We can select, we can check each one of them, because we don't have like a group of them. But then if you are creating a form, you have a form group of these radio buttons, and then you can select one, right? And you'll be able to check, okay, if this is for male, then you have it for male, this one. And you can use things like label for, and it's going to tie to this particular input. If you click it, it's going to go there. And then if you have female, it's going to go there, female, right? But then for checkboxes, it's going to be input type of checkbox, right? So that's basically, so a checkbox is going to be like this, right? It's going to be able to be checked and unchecked. But a radio is going to be a choice. You're going to group them in, give it like options, and then you're going to choose either female or male, right? But for checkboxes, you're going to be able to select multiple. So you check or you uncheck it on, at will, right? So glancing over this, this was not like, okay, all right. Bernard actually answered it in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and start. We have less than, we have exactly 29 minutes to talk about Flexbox, and to talk about the box model and Flexbox. And then we can maybe use like 10 minutes to build a component with Flexbox. I know it's going to be fast, but this is what we're working with, right? We don't have much time. All right. So basically, there's this thing called if you, okay, let me maybe delete all these styles. Let me shorten this. Let me maybe remove this selection at least. Right. So basically, in when we're dealing with text on a page and elements, they have something called a display or a display style, right? So this display style can be many things, right? Let's see by default what a p tag has, right? So there are different types of displays. Let's see our p tag. Our p tag has something called display block, right? And let's bring in our other friend called span, for example. Span, I am span, right? So this span, it says I am a span. Whoa, did I put it inside the link? But anyways, no problem. Let me put it inside an H2. So it says I am a span. That aqua color is killing my eyes. All right, so I am a span. Everything is messed up. Right. All right, so I am a span is here, but then if we check it, okay, if we check our heading one, it's also display block. But if you check our span is going to be display of the span. Where are you? I can't seem to find it, but it's basically display inline, right? So, and same as for our anchor tag, it's not showing it, but then it's a display of inline, right? So there are 3 displays, right? So let's say display inline, right? So we have things that have inline display, and then we have block, and we'll talk about inline block, right? So we're going to talk about only these 3, and then we'll move on to the box model. So basically, all the elements most of the elements that you see on the page, our H1, our P tag, our UL, they are all block. They are called block level elements. They have a display of block, right? So what that means is that they, they take up. Let's say if we have, I want to get rid of all these things. Right, so even you, all right, so our heading 1, our heading 2, they are, block level elements. But for a link, if we have like another link here, let's say link 1, and if we copy this, and then we say link 2 and link 3, they are going to go on one line, right? Each link is not going to take its own kind of row, no, because they're called inline elements. They are behaving as if they can be part of the text, part of other text, right? So these are called inline elements. So inline elements are our anchor tags. Let me see. They are our anchor tags, our A tags, our spans, our M tags, our strong tags, and our image tag. Funny enough, image tags are also, they have a display of inline by default, right? So our block level elements, they are our P tags, our headings, they are our ULs, kind of like the rest of them, right? But then let me show you. So if we wanted to take maybe link 2 and give it, let's say link 2, let's put it like this so that we can give it a class. Let's say class. Did you talk about classes? Maybe not. So there's usually this attribute called a class that you can use in CSS, a class and ID. You can use in CSS and JavaScript to know a particular element. Okay, so for this link to, we're going to say link to, right? Or block. All right, let me call it inline block. Right, so we're going to select this class called inline block. To select a class, ooh, I didn't talk about class and ID selectors. No problem. To select a class, you just write a dot and then the name of that class like this. So we select inline block by writing dot inline block, right? So then what we'll do is want to change the display. So display, it's by default inline. If you do inline, then it's going to stay there, right? If you make it block, if you make it block, then we're changing the way the link is is made, right? So it's now it wants its own row, but on its own. Okay, so if you make it inline block, what do you think is going to happen? It's going to stay on the line, but it's going to give the container even if the container was not a block level element, then it would now become block. So what this allows us to do is to add something called a width. So if we say width of maybe 100 pixels to this thing that's called inline block, let's maybe give it a background so that we can visualize it. Background of green, and the color is still black, I think. Right, so we have our block level element, but if you add width to links, nothing is going to happen, right? Let's select our links. All our links are going to have background of hot pink, and we're going to give it a width as well, like so. Right, like that. Nothing is going to happen because these are inline elements, right? This is able to get a width because it's an inline block element. If we remove display inline block, it's going to get inline again, and this is also going to be just it's going to take as much as it needs and nothing more, right? Only the space it needs. Right, so this is basically the three things that you need to know. So inline, display block, and display inline block. There are others, but you don't need to worry about that, right? So let's have our magnificent inline block link here, and we're going to maybe see how we can manipulate it. Even if we want to make it bigger, we can make it 200 pixels, and it's going to work, right? Because it's inline block. All right. All right. Let me see. How long do we have? We have exactly 20 minutes. Okay. So in 20 minutes, I'm going to talk about something called, I'm going to even use these links, by the way. Let me, yeah. Let's talk about something called the box model, right? The box model is something that is at the core of CSS and putting things on the page, right? So our display is also is also bringing in some of that. So if we have something that goes all the way, this is H1, this is the background of the H1, it's taking up the whole row, right? But if we come here and make it an inline, if we give it display of inline, even inline block, it's going to be, the background is going to go off. So this is where the elements ends, right? Our H1 ends, but by default, this is a block level element and you shouldn't change it. So it takes up the whole space right here. So when you want to put elements on a page, then it's very important to know where you can, what you can do with these things. So let's say, for example, if you had a letter to write, we could write it with only the knowledge that we have right now. So let's say our H1 maybe is going to get text align of right, for example, right? So our hello world is going to go there. If we remove the background, you're going to see that we have our hello. Oops, it has another color, should be black, right? So we have our hello world. So we can write a letter actually using this. So if you write, right, so if we come here and say, hello world, let's say, United Nations, writing to United Nations, and we have maybe another H1 because maybe that's what we're doing. Their office address, for example, right? And then we come back here. It's going to go on this side, and maybe not that big. So you can maybe change how it looks, but you know, this is, you get the idea. So if you come here and write and have, you know, a lot of, you know, maybe this is the sender's address, sender's address, and you know, maybe you can have multiple email, then phone, right? And then you can say here, we can come here and say, we can write a p tag and then write some lorem, maybe times what, times 6, right? So we have a letter already. So, and then we can come here and sign, right? So we have a letter and then you can sign here, right? So you can see that we are already, you know, being able to maybe like make some layout based on only just by changing just one thing, which is called, you know, the text alignment. But because we also know that this is a block level element, we can, you know, put some text, you know, it spans the whole area, like it spans the whole, you know, it just goes from at the beginning to the end. You know, we already visualized it, and you see, and you know where the element is ending by, you know, adding the background, right? Even if we add a border, you'll be able to see it right now, right? So we know that it's going across, right? So now something called the box model. It's let me see. If we inspect this element right here, so we have an element. It's usually called, okay, let me maybe draw the box model with CSS, sorry, with HTML. So we're going to have our H1, and our H1 is going to say content. Right, so this content, this is like the content you would have, and then around it, you know, we have something called content, and we don't want any styles here. And we want to get rid of this, right? So basically we have content like this, okay? And what we can do here right now is, you know, I'm going to show you what's called the box model. So if I open the DevTools again, I can click on this, and then if I select this one, I'm going to see, if I scroll down, I'm going to see this thing. This is the box model, you know, basically. So this thing here is the element. I mean, sorry, the content itself. And around it, we have something called the padding, right? And then after the padding, we have something called border. After the border, there's something called the margin. Right? And for some elements, we have something called the outline after the margin. But then what's important is to know, so we have the margin, we have the border, we have the padding, and we have the content, okay? So to show you the border, we can add a border on an H1. So a border can be we can have like 3 pixels, solid, solid color, for example, right? So this is our content right here. Right, let me maybe put it in the center so that it makes sense. Text align center. Right, so right, so we have our border right here. Right, this is our border. Let me make it an inline element as well. So this display inline. Right, so we have our content and we have our border. So the space between the border and the element and the content is called padding. Let me show you the padding. So I can write the padding like this. Padding, basically, actually px means pixels, and there are units of measurements on screens, basically. Yeah. So let's add issues with that. All right, so padding on H1, let's make it 30 pixels, right? So 30 pixels, now you can see that there's empty space, 30 pixels at the top, 30 pixels on the right, 30 pixels at the bottom, and 30 pixels on the left, right? And this is what's called padding. We can exaggerate and say 60 pixels, and you see that that this content is going to have 60 pixels. This is where the content is ending, but the border is after the padding. Okay, so if you had more content on the page, so let's say more content and even more content, right? So if I had more content on the page and even more content on the page, you see that it's going to be visible how they're going to be, right? They're going to leave some 60 pixels before another element can start, right? So this is one way of visualizing it. So the next thing is called margin. So after the border, there's something called the margin, right? So if we add some margin, let's maybe make this 30 pixels, then you add some margin, let's add 20 pixels. Okay, so around the element, there's going to be some 20 pixels of margin. So it's like tracing a line after this. Oh, you can already see it. So you can visualize that there's a line between this, and this is some 20 pixels and 20 pixels. These are left by this element, these are left by this element, right? I don't know if H1s have outline, 2 pixels dash line. Not really. Okay, so it's around the border. Okay, so no need to worry about this. All right. So basically, what you need to think about when you think about the box model is the content itself, which can be any element, an H1, a P tag, an H2, whatever element that you have, an image, a video, whatever element that you have. And then around it, there's going to be some padding. Around the padding, there's going to be a border. Around the border, outside the border, there's going to be something called a margin. All right. Any questions so far? All right, no questions. Okay, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat, because we are nearing the end of today's session. We're only left with like 10 minutes. All right, so basically this is the box model, and that's what you can do with it. So what you need to think about is the content itself, which is this text in this case. there's going to be a border around the, there's going to be some padding. After the padding, there's going to be a border. After the border, there's going to be a margin. All right, let's see this in action. So we have our input. We have some input to type of text, and a placeholder of your name here, right? Write your name here, right? So this is all right. It's already taking some styles for inputs, but this is what I was going to say. So let me remove this and write it again at the top. So we have let me even remove this. Okay, so we have our input. So our input is going to have, it's let's look at the input. Let's get rid of this for a second, and we have our input here, right? It's very small, very tiny, and there are things that you can do with it even when it's like that. So for an input to be able to be visible and be nice, you need to add some padding around the text of the input. To do that, you add some space between, so that you can breathe between the text and the border. So that is done by padding, right? So padding, we add 20 pixels, for example. Not 220, not 2 or 20 pixels. All right. So once we add 20 pixels, you're already seeing the difference. So if we added like a button after this, it would look much nicer, right? But then this is what we're dealing with, and this is it. So another thing that we can do is to increase the size of the text. So we can do font size, and you can do 25 pixels, and you're going to already see that this is going to be bigger, right? Maybe you can't exaggerate like that. Let's do maybe 20 pixels as well. You're going to see that our text is bigger. Right, our text is bigger, right? So once you have these, what you can do is to start to think about the border, right? So the border, even the margin, if you want to leave some space on the left, you can add some margin on the left. So when we say padding, this is a shortcut, right? Usually we would say padding top of 20 pixels, and then we do padding right, because we're going clockwise from top to right, so 20 pixels, and then let's copy this over. Right, so top, bottom, and then we got left. Right, so let me delete this and not comment this out. So we're still going to have, the same padding, but if we remove padding bottom, you're going to see something like this, right? There's no padding at the bottom. And if you remove left, you're going to visualize this. There's nothing on the left. You can do crazy things by just playing with this. Let's remove it on the right. There's nothing. Remove it at the top. There's nothing as well, but there's one on the left, which wouldn't make much sense. So for a shorthand, we just use padding, and you can actually do it in just one line. If you want to maybe change, you can do, this is top, we start with the top, and then right, you can say 50 pixels, exaggerate it. Bottom, you can do 30 pixels. Maybe on the left, you do 10 pixels, right? You're going to see that it's going to have this kind of like weird shape, right? But you get an idea that now you're able to, do crazy things with inputs, and with any other, by understanding this, you will be able to understand, how to manipulate any other element in terms of spacing and white space around it. So if you wanted to have some margin at the top, margin also behaves the same. We can say margin. Say if you want to have margin at the top and bottom and left and right of 30 pixels, you can just do that. So there's some margin here, right? Even if we use our dev tools, you can see that there's going to be, some 30 pixels of margin, top, left, bottom, right, like that. You can even visualize it like that. Then border is 2 pixels. If you increase the border, border is also behaving the same. So there's border top, border left, everything. So border, padding, margin, they are always behaving the same. You can put the 4 corners like that. So top, right, bottom, left, right? Going clockwise, starting at the top. All right. So we are almost running out of time. And I'm thinking that we can maybe like take the 10 minutes and answer questions, any questions that you guys have, and maybe move Flexbox to Monday. That's definitely what we're going to do. But you need to be able to understand this box model or margin and padding and borders on elements. That's what's crucial right now. All right. Okay. Let me maybe stop sharing the screen and see if we can answer a few questions before we close. Mic check, guys. Anyone who has a question? If not, then I can take the 10 minutes and introduce Flexbox. But with the 2 hours, I don't know if it wouldn't be a lot. But if there are no questions, it means that everything is understood by everyone on the call. So I will go on.
Yeah, mic check.
Sam, yes?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If someone can come off mute, if they can type in the chat, let us know if they think they've had enough for the day or if they can still go on. That would be good in terms of feedback to know if you should introduce it or if they've already had enough and they feel like it could be allowed.
Yeah. Yes, okay, let's speak. Let's say Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie, what do you think? Do you think we should keep going for the next 9 minutes? See something new about layouts, or should we stop? Anne-Marie, Stella, Doreen.
Yes, so good evening.
Good evening.
So for me, I think if there is no one who has a question, you can proceed and use this 9 minutes.
All right. Safi.
It's okay, can move on.
All right. Cool. Let's do that. Let's do just that. Okay. Cool. So there's one thing that we're going to learn that's going to help us to do to create our layouts. Okay. So I'm going to start with this file. I can give you guys maybe like the source code. I don't know if this is going to be able to go in the chat nicely. But let me try still. Okay, yeah, All right, so you can use that in the chat and make sure that you create a CSS file called flex.css, right? This is going to get you started with what we're going to be doing right now. We're going to only use a few minutes and see if we can maybe cover some ground. And I want to open this file with live server. So this is what we're going to be working with. Can you guys see my screen? It says CSS Flexbox with a blue background. If you can see it, let me know so that I move on. All right, cool. So basically what we have right here, I'm going to use flex.html and we don't even need this. Right, so basically we have an HTML file. We have this title here, an H1, just an H1, and then we have this div that says, that has a class of container. We have elements inside of it. It's other divs, something that we are not doing a lot, that we shouldn't be doing, but for the sake of presentation, I'm doing it. So we have a container with a class of, a div with a class of container, and children, other divs with a class of flex child, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and with numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So this is basically how it looks, right, at the beginning. So it's just HTML. I'm just giving this container a background color, just a background color, and we don't even need this. And we're giving it a height of 60 VH. VH is like the viewport height, so it's 60% of the length from here to here, right? That's what VH means. And we already have 5 minutes to go. I'm going to steal like 5 minutes from your time, but then this is one thing that I want to talk about. So Flexbox. Flexbox is a technology. It's some more CSS basically. But after you understanding the box model, how do you use that? So we have these boxes, 6 boxes, and each box has like a padding inside of it. This is why 3 is at the center and everything, right? But to create to manipulate these boxes using some more CSS or Flexbox, it's very easy, and this is what we're going to be doing basically. So let me okay, let me ignore that. I'm going to be declaring container again. So let's imagine that this is how it started, and there's no other styles that we have above, right? So, all right, cool. So this is what we're doing. So we have this this container called container. This is what we're going to work with. So it has a class of container. This is how we select it with dot container, and then something is going to change once we give it display. Again, we are still on display. So display, instead of inline block or inline, we're going to say display flex, right? Let's see what happens. So now you can see that we have, so we had this. Now with flex, we have this, okay? So basically what happens is when you do display flex, this container, this div that has a class of container, because it has this display of flex, everything inside becomes a flex item, right? And this div itself, it becomes something called a flex container, right? And it has properties because of that. So let me show you maybe a link that you can follow. Flex, again to Flexbox, yes. So this will show you everything about Flexbox if you follow it through, and you just read on. So it has, when you add flex, when you add a display flex, it becomes a flex container. And then what you can do with this is so many things, so many cool things that you can do with a flex container. One thing that we can do is, what if we wanted to center these items, center everything that is in here, right? Or if you wanted, okay, let's start with the, one thing called direction, right? So flex direction, right? So flex direction by default is going to be, let's see. So let's maybe inspect it and see. We're not going to be able to see that. So we have our container here, but container, sorry, our display, it says flex, and then, by default, it's going to be raw. And if by display, when you write display flex, you're going to see this icon. You can actually play with it. And if you click on it, you can change the direction. So this is the direction of raw, and you can actually have a direction of column, which is what we had before, right? And this is very important. I'm going to show you later, maybe in the next session, how we can put this into action, right? So row, column, and there's other things. So by default, it's going to be raw, like this, but then we can actually make it column like that, right? It's going to be the way we had it before, right? But then you can see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is in that order. We can do something called column reverse, right? It's going to start now with 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? And same for row. We can do row reverse. It's going to start from 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? And this is number 1, row. So we're going to make it maybe column like that. Okay. So no. Sorry, I'm going to make it row. But this is the default. Okay. So the next thing that we can do is, what if we wanted to put it in the center of this blue area, right? In terms of like the vertically, like this, we want to put it in the center. We want it to come from here and maybe to here in the center. So this we can do with something called align items, and then you can do center, right? When you do center, it's going to go in the center there, as you can see, right? And you can also do something called flex end, and flex end is going to put it at the end of that. Okay, so let me maybe, okay, I'm not going to put a padding on there, but so that we can visualize it. So as you may be able to tell, we can also do flex start. It's going to put it at the start, right? This is on, vertically, right? But we can also do horizontal. So it has like 2 axes. There's one called, like the Y and X axis, but in Flexbox, we call it the main axis and then the cross axis. The main axis is now this, because, we are in row. So the main axis is, vertical. That's why align items is, putting things, on the vertical order. But if you want to do the cross axis, or whatever you may want to call it in math, but in Flexbox, we call it main axis and cross axis, right? So in order to change, the direction of it, to align the items horizontally, when it's in row, the direction is row, very important. We can have justify content. That's the property to use. Justify content. Let me do, by default it's flex start, but if I do flex end like that, it's going to go at the end. If I do center, as you may be able to tell, it's going to be in the center, like so, right? If I do center, like center on align items, and then center on justify content, it's going to be in the center. Okay, so this is very important if you want to center a div. Let me give you an example. For example, if you didn't have all these things and you only had an H1, and I said, hello, sorry, let me say, in the center, right? So if I had that, then it will be, I'm in the center like that. Let me maybe make it, give it an H1, a color of at least blue. It will be like I'm in the center, right? Like that. So basically you can do a lot with this. If you didn't know how to maybe create something like this, this is a valid, let's say, if I had like something, if I had a section, I'll say, say projects, for example. If I had like projects worked on, if I'm creating a portfolio, then I can have all right, let's say something like that. And if this will be in the center, then here at the bottom I can start my I can put the images maybe of projects I've worked on, right? So this is one of the applications of Flexbox, basically. So I'm only going to take 5 more minutes to show you just a few other things about Flexbox, but as you can see, it's very, very important to understand Flexbox if you want to get started with creating nice layouts. These days, it's usually like basically like the only way to go. There are more tools like CSS Grid, but this is where you start. All right, so we still have our centered items here. Another thing that we can have, maybe like, what if we had a lot of these, right? So then it would be going to this to the side, overflowing. As you can see, it would be overflowing like that, right? But one thing that we can do is writing something called flex wrap, and flex wrap. By default, it has the value of no wrap, but we can just say wrap, right? So we can then, as you can see, because we're centering everything, that's why it's in the center, but it's wrapping down, because we told it to, right? So there's no overflowing on the side like before. So it's wrapping everything, right? And since we have a lot of these items, let's do justify content center, go at the start, at the beginning here, but there's, we need maybe some space between these elements, right? We can do something called still justify content. Instead of doing center, you can do space between, right? So if you do space between, it's going to add some space between the elements, right? You might ask, why is it small here? It's because of the way it's adding, space is according to the available space. So if you do something called maybe space evenly, it's going to add, some even space here. So let's maybe like to visualize that. Just remove, right, and remain with these, right? So we have these, so it's going to space, this space is going to be equal to this and this and this and this and this and this, right? So that's one of the things. And then as you can already tell, so there's more options. So in space, so we can also do space around, but space around is only going to put some equal space around the item. So on the side, you're going to see this is smaller than this, and that's fine, right? So you can do a lot to justify content and all the options that we have. Okay, so, and with wrap, we can also have wrap reverse, but that's not important, as of now, right? So anything else maybe I can talk about is yeah, I think that's basically it for the flex container. But for the flex items, or the children, we have flex child. Let me select them and maybe show you one, okay, like 2 or 3. Flex child, we select it, and then flex child, maybe we give it something like there's one called order, right? So for flex children, you're going to have to select okay, so every single one of them has flex child, but I want to maybe select I want to change the order, maybe put 2 in number 1, right? How would I do that? So let me do this. I'll do maybe 2 as the class of 2, like you see here. Then you can put 1 here, right? And then if I put 1 there and I save, there's nothing. Sorry. Yeah, so there's not, I'm going to see that basically by default, it's going to be 0 for all these elements. Let me show you what I mean by that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, so right, so basically the order is 0 by default, and you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But if I put if I want to put 1 on number 2, I can just do 2, for example. Or if I want to, even if I put 1, oh, sorry guys, we've just had a power cut. Let me try to switch the screen. All right, so as you can see, I hope you can still see my screen. So as you can see, if you put, all right, let me bring in the code. Okay, it's here. So as you can see, if I have 1 here and 2 here on, it has the order of 0. But if I have 1, put it in order of 1, it's going to be 0 is before 1 definitely. So it's going to be 1 is going to come at the end here, right? It's going to come at the end. But if I want to make it number 2, then I can give each one of them maybe another. If I want to make number 2, I want to give it maybe like 5. I make this 3. I make this maybe 2. I make this 4. Just random orders. Maybe I make this 6, right? So number 1 is going to come back on 1, unless if I want to maybe make 2 0. So we're going to start 0, 1, 2, 3, and then 4, and then 5, right? So okay, let me maybe change this to 4, and then this 6, so that 5 is at the end, 6 is before. So we have 2, 1, 4, 3, 8, 5, right? So this is basically how you can change the order, right? So that's one thing that you can do. Another thing that you can do with this is you know, if we have flex grow, we have flex grow on, you know, these items, the flex children. If I want, for example, let me go back, reset. Okay, let me delete them. All right, so if I want to, for example, you know, so flex grow and flex shrink. So flex grow, for example, if I want to have, you know, number one grow twice as much, you know, if there's space, it will grow bigger than, you know, twice as much other elements. I can just do flex grow of 2. Yeah, and this is going to be bigger than other elements. The reason these are here is because actually should have not deleted them. I can just do order and change them to flex grow. So we have 0, so they are not growing like this. But if I come here and maybe on 2, I want 2 to grow, you know, bigger than other elements, then I can do that. But flex grow is usually not 0, is 1 by default. So we have 1, so it grows, you know, 1 time, right? But then I want to, for example, to grow, you know, twice as much. So it's going to be bigger, twice as big as 1 and big as 3, right? If I do 3, then it's going to be 3 times bigger, right? It's going to be 3 times bigger than, you know, other elements. Okay, so this is how you can actually, you know, manipulate elements of the page based on, you know, how you want them to grow or not, right? It can even be, maybe I can give this 2 and then give this 3. So this will be, this will be bigger, this will be a bit bigger, and then this will be in the middle. Then this will be on level 1, for example. So it depends on how you want to manipulate it like this. So I've just eaten 15 minutes of your time. I don't want to eat anymore, but then we did not get time to work on the project. But maybe on in our next session next week about UI UX, I'm going to take you guys through how to maybe like apply some of these techniques to create an actual layout and with a project. I had a project, but timing is not going to be allowing. So thank you guys so much. I don't know if there's any questions that you have that I can answer before we close. Mic check. If there are no questions, then I'm going to be asking 1 or 2 people a question. Sam, you want to say something?
Yeah, exactly what you said. Like this, we should ask some questions to people, or someone should come up with and tell us what they've learned.
Yeah, definitely. So let me see. Let me pick on Dorin. Dorin, do you have your mic on? Can you put your mic on and tell us what you learned in this session? Dorin, Ariane, Techno Common 11, Anne-Marie, Innocent, Safi. Guys, tell us.
Hello.
Yes, Innocent. Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I've learned a lot in this session. I'll mention back in HTML, definition of qualities, analogies, endpoints, labels, and Also, in this after session, I will come to cover of CSS.
Mhm. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Safi, can you unmute again and share?
Thank you. Me too. I learned a lot on padding, bordering. Yeah, that's the part I was understanding well.
All right. Awesome. Ariane.
For me, I got to learn CSS Flexbox. It's the only thing I feel like I'm not familiar with.
Awesome. Vivian.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Just now I understand how the inline block and blocks, how they work.
Mm-hmm. Oh, all right. Okay, that's it. Yeah, thank you guys so much. We've gone beyond time. We'll be having one more session about UI UX, and hopefully we will have enough time to look at the whole process of creating a website, where you begin and how you put all these skills together. But for now, make sure that tomorrow at 10 you have something on the assignment. Don't be telling Sam that you don't remember the assignment. Maybe this is the perfect time for Sam to come back on and maybe remind some of the people who don't remember that we have an assignment for tomorrow. We have a project, it's not an assignment. We have a project that we're working on. Sam, can you maybe come off mute and tell them about the project, and that we're going to be having a sync tomorrow to check on the progress?
Well, I would be surprised to learn that some people do not know we have an ongoing project. So I shared with you a, let me share it with you. So we are working on my social media wall, and our focus this week is to create an HTML page that has all of this content. It has a header has all this content. It has a form. It has a post, 2 posts. That's part of the main section. And it has a footer section. So by the raise of hands, can I see people who have started on it, at least, who have done something about it?
Yes, Ariane.
Thanks. You can see.
Ariane had her hand raised. Maybe she wants to ask something.
Oh. Is that so?
Actually, I do have a question. While I was trying to do some code, I did not understand on the thing of 2 posts. You said the name of the author and then the title. I just don't get where to put it.
Did you hear what? Did you hear what Ariane said? I didn't.
I heard that she didn't understand well. She didn't understand well the requirements. she's saying something specific, but I didn't catch that. She said name of the author, then I didn't know. I didn't hear what she didn't understand.
So could you explain your question more? Are you asking about the name of the author in the post? Is that what you're asking?
What I mean is on how like the posts we're supposed to. You said that we have to add 2 posts. I'm wondering where like if all these elements are supposed to go in line, and I don't know how to put the title. Like I don't get where to put it.
I don't know if it's just me, but I have a hard time hearing.
Maybe she's, if I heard well, she's asking does she put the title of the post? But I think just like maybe go through, just like in brief, explain what needs to be done, like just in a few words.
Okay. We talked about, okay, let's start with the well, I gave an example. I'm not sure if I'll be able to find it right now, but I had given an example of what that could look like. But a header section, has the name of the app, the logo, and the image of the user. Like you have 3 items that are aligned. Let me see if I can find because I remember sharing, going through like the basics of what that would look like. So let me see if I can find at least the VS Code bit that we had worked on together on the call. Then
Sam.
yes.
Ayan is asking, do they have to follow the order of how the elements are listed in the doc? And she also doesn't get where to put the title, edit, and delete icons.
Okay.
Basically, does the order matter?
Yes, the order matters. You should first have a header section, then you should have the main section, then you should have the footer section. So you cannot start with the footer or with the main section. You should start with the header, then have a main section. A main section should also start with the form. So the order actually matters. Now, about where to put the edit icon and delete icon of your choice, this is up to you to decide, but one of the ways you could do this is if you know how to implement a drop down, then the perfect combination of the post and these 2 actions would be to have a drop down in the corner of the post. But if you're not yet there, if you cannot do a drop down, then you can just add 2 buttons after each post. Just add 2 buttons, one that says edit and one that says delete. So yes, there are 2 ways. The best way is to add a drop down to every post. That's the best way. If you can't do that, then just add 2 buttons next to every post. Is that clear?
Yeah, she says okay in the chat.
All right.
And Ivany was asking, Stella, she was asking if this is a group work.
No, but then remember, we have Discord for communication. If you have such a question, you should always remember to ask on Discord, because you get an answer quickly and you proceed, you make a lot more progress. There's a lot of headway you could have made by now if you had asked that. So remember that moving forward, as soon as you have a question in your mind, you can just post it on the platform and someone should be able to answer. So this is an individual work. If it were project work, we would have told you, but it's supposed to be an individual work.
I think that's it.
Okay, so at 10 tomorrow, we'll have an initial, so we'll take a look at what you have. We'll take a look at what you've done, and based on what we see, we may schedule a demo again in the afternoon. And then now officially have you show us what you've done, how you've been able to do it, and any challenges you might have faced in the process. So yeah, look out for that. At 10 in the morning, we'll have a session on, just like looking at what you've done so far and seeing if you have any blockers. Then depending on that, we'll have it in the afternoon.
Il est 20h30.
Any other question?
No, I think that's it. And we're way past time. Let's stop it here. Thank you all for attending today's session. This session was recorded and it will be shared as usual on YouTube, and we'll share the link in session recordings if you want to go back in. Maybe if you were fast or something like that, then you can go back in and check it out. And as always, if you have any questions, drop them in the Women in Tech General or in help, help CSS, help HTML, so that people can help you. And if you need feedback, reach out to your manager or your TTL. Other than that, I'll see you all tomorrow at 10 on the demo and feedback session. As someone saying, thank you all. Have a good evening.